there's a process of kind of you bouncing it back out to Figs.
Maybe, I don't know. What do you think?
Right now.
No!
My name is Figs O'Sullivan.
And I'm Teale O'Sullivan.
We're emotionally focused couples therapists, and we're a couple.
In an act of sheer bravery
or foolishness,
we're sharing our own couples therapy sessions with the world.
Watch or listen to us fight,
cry,
laugh,
and repair.
Then grow in your relationships along with us through the insight we share as couples therapists.
There's a little kid inside of each of us just reaching out for love and connection.
Let's begin to reach back out to each other.
Welcome home.
This is Come Here to Me.
Hello and welcome to Come Here to Me. I'm Teale.
And I'm Figs.
And we had quite a journey on this session, didn't we?
Yeah. I thought this was an interesting couples counseling session in so much as it represents what we see as couples therapists. Couples do, right? Whereas in a way they're colluding with each other, like we were colluding with each other to not do the work.
That's right.
And you can tell from the very beginning of the session. And by the way, what I think we're going to do is we're going to try and put a few different segments because the session is actually quite disorganized, that we won't share all of it, but we'll share a little bit from the beginning, the middle, and towards the end.
Yes.
But for me, the tone of this session, it begins instantly.
Yes.
Right. And you'll get to hear and see this when in the very third, fourth minute of the session, we actually decide we're not going to process what's actually happening between us.
Right.
You know,
it's not explicitly, we're not like looking at
we
each
don't
other
say
like,
it, but we make that kind of implicit decision with each other.
Yeah.
So I think that's really interesting. It's almost like we made a contract with each other really early on. We're not going to process emotional cycles with each other.
Right.
Now, this is the thing, and I see it as feeling this as a client, and I think of it as like a therapist, it's hard to know when do you name something as the therapist, when do you name it as a client. Oh, there's something happening right now, but there are just so many things we decided to let go.
So many things, so many rabbit holes.
We'll see that. We'll talk about it a little bit. Like at the very beginning of the session, we're still trying to work out the production and the flow of how we make these episodes. So one of the things we tried with this couples counseling session is that we were both wearing, you'll see us, we're both wearing one AirPod each, and then, speaking into our Yeti microphone. So we just separated the input from the output, and that didn't work for you. You didn't like it.
Right.
Which is totally understandable. You didn't like it. No, it's totally understandable, right? But I ended up feeling a little bit trapped or powerless because I didn't feel I could share why I thought it was important. And why I thought it was important is because I wanted there to be good audio quality for you, the listeners.
Right.
And yet, if I said that, I figured that this is, something that our therapist would be upset about.
Right.
The therapist is look, I'm totally happy for you to record, but I don't want you to be performing, which I don't want us to be performing either. So
right.
I was worried that oh no, the audio quality is not going to be very good. But of course, I'm not allowed actually think about what the audio quality is going to be like because we're supposed to only care about our couple session. But then I know, even though I wasn't saying anything, you picked up I was upset with you.
Right. Yes. That I had kind of a sensory issue that was happening for me in this session.
Right.
And actually often.
Exactly. And that's the other thing. You're very good, Teale, for letting us kind of, illustrate. One of the things that happens between us, that the headphones you didn't like, and I totally get it. It absolutely makes sense. It's weird, right? Having it coming into just one ear. And then also, right, you didn't like the height of the desk. It's really weird for me. You like the desk much higher than I do. I don't quite understand. I would have thought it was the other way around, but
I'm little and Figs is big.
Right.
But I like it I like to really look at my people. But
you have to change the blinds like 2 or 3 times. My voice.
Your
Even probably
voice.
now my voice is too loud.
No, your voice is good now. But I changed the blinds 3 times. There was a number of things. And
these birds outside right now are probably annoying.
I like the birds.
Oh, good. Okay.
No, but it's so interesting because I'm thinking about it now. I'm thinking all of these sensory things.
Yeah.
Right. I was saying something.
Right.
With all of my discomfort, I was really saying I'm actually quite uncomfortable about this session. I didn't want to come into this session.
Right.
I was really nervous about it.
No, I'm glad you mentioned that now in the setup. And that's there are so many different things going on, right? When you have sensory stuff, I can feel controlled and shut down.
Right.
Oh my God, what are you going to correct now?
Right.
So
you can feel criticized, and I can be in such a place of I'm sorry, I can't function with the light like that.
Exactly.
Just feeling really sensitive to myself.
Which of course then you're not going to feel supported if I'm are you kidding me?
Right. And you're going to feel criticized, oh my gosh, my voice is, too loud, or the table. It's and the headphones. It's one thing after another, right?
Right. Exactly. And it's great that you name this other thing that's going on, right? This other thing that's going on is that actually some of the way you're trying to change your environment is a way that you're trying to control the fact that you're not feeling comfortable in a much deeper way inside.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the discomfort thing, because this is one of the things that certainly was confusing for me. It wasn't what I was expecting.
Right.
Because, our last session, if anything, I thought you were more excited about, that was so great, Figs. You were vulnerable and you let me love you and be there and let our therapist see you and be validating of you. That was so important. So it's interesting. I kind of expected you were going to come in yay, couples counseling is so great. And I feel really comfortable and optimistic. So it's amazing how, now, and I know you did find the last session really positive in the whole, but it's amazing how that expectation of how safe and comfortable you're going to feel, that's not how you went into this counseling session. Help me and the listeners understand the gap between, this was so good that Figs you shared the way you can feel bad about yourself.
Right.
And yet, by the time next Friday morning rolls around, you're actually, oh no, I don't want to do this session.
Yeah, that's a good question. And it's interesting, the me that would have come in and been yeah, couples therapy, that's the person I want to be, is the person who took, I think it's important for the listeners who are not listening to this in a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 type of way, to remind them Figs had just kind of a deep dive. He'd felt a little bit criticized by myself and the therapist. And then he'd had this deep dive inside of himself where he touched a real place of sadness, and he was able to share about it. And we were able to stay with you.
Right.
And eventually you really let in our caring. And it was really powerful. Along the way, there were some bumpy moments for me. And for the most part, 90% of my spirit was just I wasn't having this kind of conflict inside of feeling criticized and feeling I hadn't done it right. 90% of me was with Figs and enjoying it, and I felt really present in a way I'm not usually. 10%, I had impact from the arrows that inevitably happened. You even watched the session back and you said, it would make sense to me that you'd be having a hard time at this point, feeling a little bit criticized and oh gosh, yeah, and that I was too much.
Again, you're correcting me, all the same kind of stuff.
Same type of stuff, exactly.
I wasn't doing it right, but in a way, every time I say I'm not doing it right, it makes sense that it'll land on you I'm saying you're being too much, or you're too critical.
Exactly. And I was kind of just feeling bad about myself. I wanted to be really small in this session. Right. Or I didn't want to come.
Right.
I just
you didn't want to take up so much space where you were going to be critical again.
Yeah.
But I'm laughing as I say that. So that's what you were working so hard on that on the inside. Then you ended up having to correct the AirPods, the desk.
Right.
So it's funny. You know, I don't know if you've ever heard.
Contain it.
Exactly. But also it's like what you resist persists. You know, you were resisting, like, I'm not going to be too much.
Right.
And yet then it was leaking out in a way.
Right.
In all these little tiny.
That is so interesting.
Environmental control. Right.
And we find this with the body. We find it with that mind-body connection. Yeah. We cannot, you know, our partner's going to pick up. You know, someone's
it leaks out.
It leaks out.
I think it's a really great. A lot of people think they have amazing poker faces, like, you know, their partner doesn't know they're upset, but all this stuff leaks out, right? Because your body is like, it's millions of years in the making. There's such profound intelligence and its ability to pick up what another organism is feeling and thinking, even if you don't get it consciously. And by the way, that is a good thing to remember, is this idea that what you resist persists. So if you're feeling bad about yourself, or I'm worried like I'm going to be too much and I'm not going to feel that, I'm not going to feel it, you'll actually end up having to feel it more. Or if you're resisting, I'm not going to be controlling, that entire process of resisting that behavior will actually probably lead to you being even more controlling.
As we saw.
Exactly. Yeah, you know. So anyway, so there was that part of the session. Like I said, there was so many different little things we touched on. The last part of the session we really want to show you, again, I think is an important dynamic that happens, even though we only kind of touch on it briefly, is, do you want to share?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say it because this is like Teale and her neurosis.
I feel bad now. Now I feel like this whole session is about you being, we're presenting like you being particular, but you're very good. Go on.
I am good and I am particular. Both are true. But yeah, this really interesting piece that sort of surfaced towards the end of the session, which I hadn't actually consciously been aware of until Figs pointed it out, what was happening for him, which is that I'm a very validating person. So I'm you're good at validating other people. Good at validating other people and good at being appreciative. And it
amazing
turns out,
at validating and appreciative. You really are, like,
okay,
to the point it's terrifying.
Well, that's what we find out is that at some point during the session, and it really is real for me, that I see these things and appreciate these things about Figs.
And other people. You're really good at everybody. You're walking in the street, little cat. Hello, little cat. You're such a beautiful little cat. Right? You're constantly validating.
I'm like a sunny disposition.
Exactly.
And with Figs, it turns out I can do this. And it's like my voice can sound like I'm so there, like how I'm appreciating him. I'm really being a nasty witch.
Well, yeah, I don't know if I don't think you're being a nasty witch. But what happens is, I think you're modeling for me how you want to be treated.
I am.
So it lands like a threat. It lands like a threat. Like you'll say, oh, Figs, I just love what an amazing listener you are. And so that doesn't actually just go in like, oh, thank you, sweetie. Where my brain goes is like, oh shit, I think Teale's telling me I haven't been listening to her and I better start listening. And look, I think you're a genuine validator, and you know, we love people the way we want to be loved ourselves. And I do think there is a part that you are hoping I will show up and validate you in the ways that you long for when you're acknowledging me.
I think you're totally right.
And so it's great to notice again what I would, you know, like for the viewers and listeners, to know that sometimes, and this can be very confusing, when you compliment or acknowledge your partner, and it's very hard for you to understand why your partner might actually freeze in place or get defensive. One of the things that can happen is when you validate them, like what happens for me, I become aware, oh, you're naming something that I don't do for you, or you're validating a part for me because you really want me to validate you. And so then it doesn't land in like an opening, like, oh, that feels really lovely. It actually feels like a threat.
Well, I think that also, so it is true. It says something about me that I can be in touch with both. I can be truly appreciative. This was awesome that you unloaded the car. And there's also a part of me that sort of says, and did you see how I put every single thing back into place and put all the sandy towels, you know, out on the lanai? And I think it would be a tragedy if we missed the part that said there's also a part inside of you that gets really scared. Like that validation actually triggers the fear, like you're talking about. And the threat feeling is how I'm not enough.
Exactly.
This is a big one.
It feels like I'm being told I'm not enough.
Yeah.
Anyway, look, I feel like this was a big introduction, but again, the session was disorganized, and so there was a few different things we wanted to touch on. But here, watch or listen to the session, and we're going to watch and listen right now again to Gulp. And
just notice what stands out to you.
Exactly. And how it relates to you in your own relationship.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Can I just say, this feels really weird to me. I don't know if I can, could we, is there anything that we really need to do it like this?
I mean, it just, you don't have to, it just improves the audio, but it's okay.
Okay.
We can change it.
No, it's
I don't
fine.
notice.
I'll see if I can get used to it. I'll just give it a minute. It's just.
I don't notice a difference on my end if there's something you're doing.
It's just having something in one ear and something not in the other ear. I know couples that do it, but I find it
right.
Weird.
Yeah, we only hear you in one ear.
Okay.
We're sharing the audio. I mean, again, if you really don't like it, we can stop.
I'll just tell you on my end, I don't hear any difference in the audio without it.
Yeah. Again, let's just stop. I'll take it off. Hold on 1 second.
Is there any way to do 2 headphones?
No.
We should develop a whole
hold on
couples
one
therapy
second.
headphone.
I mean, yeah, anyway, there is, of course, you can get a splitter, but hold on.
Okay.
The microphone. Okay, just give me this. I'll put it away. It just, yeah.
Well, could one of us have that? Or no, that's
No. Okay.
Sorry. I just can't. It just feels really distracting to me. Maybe I could practice over time.
It's fine. It's okay. No worries. Okay.
Okay. Hi, you guys. Take a moment, take a breath, see where you're at right now, what's happening in your bodies. Take your time, and when you're ready, open your eyes and let the image come to you.
Maybe we could raise this just a tiny
Oh, okay, George. You're very particular.
It's so low. I am particular because I said this stuff.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. All right.
Did you have any time to reflect on our last session and see how that felt for you guys, or talk about it, or individually feel?
Not as much as we would have liked,
Right.
But I do think we talked about it, didn't we? We did talk about it.
We went and swam with sharks after that.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Literally.
Yeah,
Never-
not on purpose.
Not on purpose, but and we actually,
We
it was
just-
kind of a breakthrough for us because we feel less scared of sharks.
I think that's what I've been saying to myself. But yeah,
Well,
you're less scared, I know.
no, but I am a scared person of sharks and many things. But
There was literally sharks 20 yards away. There was I physically saw the shark 20 yards away from. At that moment, I was on shore, but Teale and the kids were in the water, and another 20 yards away from the shark.
And wouldn't get out.
They wouldn't get out of the water.
They're just big fish and they're not hunting. And it's
Yeah,
such a time of plenty in Hawaii. Sharks, they don't want to eat people. They want to eat all this amazing fish that's here.
Right.
And so
You're very convinced.
I've talked to biologists about this, or a friend of a biologist.
No, so you have information that lowers the risk.
Exactly. But let me look, in terms of the last session, yeah, look, I thought it was really good. Just I thought it was really good to be able to just to feel and study that place that I can hit where I can feel start to feel overwhelmed and powerless and then oscillate between being really pissed about it, angry about it, frustrated about it, and lash out, and then on the flip side of that is collapse, right?
And go away. Want to go away.
Yeah, moving away or just collapse and giving up, right?
And then I love the end where Teale stayed with you. We both stayed with you.
exactly.
and kept inviting you to stay with it.
Yeah.
And you contacted sadness in a kind of vulnerable way.
Yeah, that was really good, right?
And that's where the healing is. To me, that's where the
Right.
healing is.
Absolutely. And so that was great. It was really good. It was really very, very good. The whole thing, the whole process was really beneficial for me. I don't talk for you. So
I thought it was a good session to re-look at.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And yeah, we want to, I do think, the huge benefit of the recording is you and I, we literally go through the session and watch it again and see ourselves and each other and what was happening. So I'm really looking, I'm both excited to look at it, and it's obviously also, it's not the easiest
Right.
to look at myself and hear myself.
Mm.
It's really vulnerable. Like I was just thinking of the week before when I was like, I feel like all men have hurt me. I'm like watching myself and just being like, oh my God. Like it's like vulnerable. But you're really in it. Can I ask you a little thing? Just project a little bit less, just as my ear.
I'll project a little bit. So it's fun. Yeah, I'll try. Of course, I'll try. But I think some of it is just my voice is loud.
Well, it's good for me because I can really hear you. But
right.
So point it toward me.
Yeah. I will.
I know I'm so specific. I thought it was a really good session too, and I won't lie and say didn't feel like weird afterwards, and kind of like, I don't know how to be, and I felt a little nervous about like coming today, kind of like I don't know how to be in session. I guess I take everything and need to process it. It's like, but that's taking it at face value, and there's other stuff. But I was just wondering, how to, get shit done, not stall on the small stuff.
I thought
I think that's good feedback for me, and if I just take it that piece as like, that wasn't the point of the session, but it was one part of it. It felt like, oh my gosh, there's another thing that Teale needs to process. So,
well, look, the point, it's fine. Like whatever comes up, and whatever we process, process. It doesn't need to be a big thing, right? But look, like even so far today, right? You've like had to correct me. You've asked for me to change 4 or 5 times already.
mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
To feel comfortable.
Yeah, to feel comfortable. It's just, it's a lot, right? Like it makes sense. All of these things make sense, right? My voice is loud. The headphones don't work. The table is too low. But like, it's just an interesting thing. Like, I let a lot of things go until I don't. And then of course, and then I seem like an asshole because when I do bring up stuff, then it's got more energy to it, right? But
I'm really interested, Teale, in spending a little time with you, if it feels right, about your need to get shit done and how that works in you. I don't know if that's a valid direction to go.
That was just in response to like one of the parts about what felt hard for Figs about last session. That was, I think, kind of like the precursor to,
right.
Was just feeling like, oh my gosh, we're stopping on all the small stuff.
Right.
And I think I just reassured Figs that I just feel like whatever we talk about, it's gonna bring up the whatever needs to be focused on. But I do know, I can see you're kind of angry right now. So it's like,
angry is a stretch, but that's okay.
But it's true, and I think it's hard to, stick with myself, and I think especially around being comfortable, like in my seat, and I think maybe I do have some sensory sensitivities just around loudness, or something doesn't feel right in my ears, and I know that can be frustrating for you, and you can feel criticized, and of course your voice, I think, is something that there's a little bit more sensitivity there because you've gotten maybe that feedback sometimes from other people. And okay. Okay.
I know. No, I tell you what I've heard from other people is sometimes when I try and talk softly, my voice carries even further because I go down a couple of
right, a lower tone.
Exactly, and so it's a weird one to try and manage. Look, and I think I said this to you, Tom. Like last year, I'm prone to get ulcers in my vocal cords. So I really should be more mindful of how I use my voice. So yeah, it's a complicated. There's more things.
I have a similar problem, and it's gotten worse since I've been on Zoom so much. I think I talk louder.
Yeah.
I feel like I want to hear from you a little bit about your little nervousness about coming today and what was going on for you, how you're feeling.
What are you laughing about right now?
I don't know. This thing is funny.
Why?
But no, I want to hear about how nervous you are. I just think it's always funny when I'm scary. I'm just settling into I'm someone to be scared of.
You didn't know that?
Well, sometimes.
No, well, listen, I'm glad to be here. And, it touches the place of like that pursuer's wound that I can have, but I'm too much. I've got too many demands. I need it all this way.
Yeah.
I've criticized you 4 times, or you've told you to change 4 times. And, I'm just too much because I stop on every little thing. I've got a problem with every little thing. And so I was just saying, this isn't like a huge part of my experience, but it's like, it's in there that I can be like, yeah, well, I'm a fucking handful. Like,
you're disorganized.
Thank you.
I'm kidding. I'm saying.
But yeah, this is the other side of the cycle where I can just feel like, oh my God, I'm so much. Right. And, what if you just get kind of tired of dealing with all my ears are so sensitive, and I need the table like this, and she's got to stop at every fucking thing. Like, can we just make some progress?
Yeah. By the way, I like the stopping at everything. I don't know why, and it just seems like it doesn't matter what I say now. Like, I like that whatever arises is what we process, and that's good with me.
Even Figs, even if what arises is to need to spend some time with one person or another.
Yeah, absolutely. It's totally fine. Whatever arises is what makes sense to work on.
Thank you for your reassurance about that. And I did know that. And I'm just saying, guys, that it touches the place. I'm not like taking it personally and freaking out right now. I'm just saying, oh yeah, that's a place that I know about in myself. Speaking of shame, like how you brought up last week, is there's shame around my so muchness and my so specificity. So, but that feels kind of secondary to right now. I think that, you brought something up that I think is important, which is, not feeling like we spent very much time together this week.
Right, but let's go back. Let's stay on this thing for a second, because where this actually is a big. Where Teale's like sensory sensitivity is a big deal. I'd like to be totally honest, right? I'm not saying we have to process this very deeply emotionally, but it's just worth noting. It's just sleeping at night. Right, yeah. Because it's hot, but the fan can't be on too high. The light can't wake up with natural light in the morning,
which we do now.
No, because we're up in darkness.
No, because the curtain don't make us.
But yeah, no. The place where I would say it's really kind of I can hit and feel like I'm in an impossible, powerless place inside, is when like I'm not able to sleep comfortably because of some of the sensory stuff you have, right?
Yeah.
But I get it, I understand, but it's a little bit of a difficult situation. Like there's 5 of us in a room, and it has to be really hot because we can't have too much air flowing. Right. That's a little hard. But anyway, just
I hear you.
Yeah.
It makes sense. And yeah, I think just like you can feel like a handful sometimes, I can feel like a handful too. Of course, there's a part of me that's like, have you ever been with a partner who liked music and radio as loud as you do? Just like, we're like, yeah, we're eating a meal. Let's have this music just blasting. Let's have the radio up at like such a high decimal.
That's
Like,
That's funny that you just come right back with that.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. That's what happens though in a cycle, right?
Well, I didn't even feel we're in a cycle, but I understand.
Well, the first thing I said is like, it makes sense.
Yes.
And,
right.
I can feel like critical, like, I feel like, okay, you can think I'm so weird for, I have the fan on, the windows are open, no one else is complaining, we have the AC on before we get in bed. Like, we've come up with kind of a good routine. I like the AC on.
That's true.
Before we go to bed. And with that, you can kind of be like, oh, this is Teale's doing this thing to us. And so when I feel like that, I can be like, dude, you do fucking things.
No, I know. By the way, I know it's weird, but I know it's strange that I grew up with the radio was always on. Like, I'm more connected, like directly connected to the family having a radio and all the other members of the village coming and sitting around the radio. Like, I'm not that far from that world. And it's a very normal thing for me growing up. As, Teale would say, it's kind of crazy at my mother's house and my dad's house. The radio is on, like talk radio was on all day.
Oh my God.
It's all like, see, for me, like, I love NPR. Like,
I like NPR, but all day. I don't know.
Well, this is the thing. I could have NPR on in the background all day long, but I'm not allowed.
But listen.
But anyway,
it's
look,
true.
It is weird to other people. I totally get it.
No, but I mean, first of all, I love NPR, and I wish I could listen to the radio more. And I think there is something that happened to me, like maybe in the last 6 years, where I am more in touch with, my overwhelm. Like, the kids are talking to me, Figs is talking to me, and then the radio is telling me something really interesting, and I'm just like, fuck no. Like, I cannot do this.
Right.
And like, just, it's very activating for me. And so, but I think I can get things in my head, like, oh my God, the fan and the air on my ears, and that's difficult. We have differences, and
exactly.
I'm more sensitive in some ways, and
I'm more sensitive in other ways.
You are, but like, how, what do we do? How do we deal with that? Like, because I can hear that you said I feel powerless around, like, if I feel like I've got to get my, it's like I can't go to sleep if the fan's up at the highest thing. I won't be like, this doesn't work, Figs. I'll just be like, maybe I'll sleep downstairs on the couch. Like, I just am like, I just can't do it. Like, I can't abandon what feels like hugely important for my ability to do the thing at night that I'm supposed to do.
Got it. Yeah.
But then you feel kind of like pressured, like, okay, I've got to give up what I want so that she can be happy. So that makes sense that it'd be kind of like over time, just like if I always had to listen to the radio at the decimal and you weren't like, okay, let me turn it off.
Right.
I'd be like, oh, I can't really survive like that. So like, why do I have to win sometimes?
Why do you have to win sometimes? Yeah, look, this isn't a big deal. Like, I'm not, not a big deal. But it is a place that we just have different sensory stuff.
Yeah, and it's maybe a place that we like, you talk about not spending a lot of time. Like, maybe we spend more time during the week, like bickering. Like, okay, radio. Oh, got the fan. It's like,
why is the fan not on?
How are you guys feeling with this repartee right now? How are you each feeling?
I guess I feel we're just waiting to see what's going to happen.
So
I see it. Yeah, we're just waiting to see what emerges. I don't have it really, like, it doesn't feel like the real show or the main course. Well,
the reason I asked you about seeing the last session is I kind of was interested in spending a little time, Teal, if you can go to your dropped-in place and what that would look like. How was it for you that we didn't go into the cycle and we did end up focusing on Figs and slowing it down with him?
I felt like last session was really productive. It was such a rare experience for me to not feel like defensive and like my own shit taking over my like
Right.
everything, and just like I mean, I had some emotions that rose through, like I'm saying, oh gosh, do I make everything about me, and do I, but like it all just kind of passed, and I just felt really like last session was really important and like amazing, and like and I just felt like it was really organic. I really like how you stayed with us, and we really like you, by the way.
Oh, I like you guys too.
Yay. That always feels good. I like to be liked. Yeah, and just in terms of dropping into something here with myself,
Right.
I'm just not feeling anything like specifically going on.
Right.
I think just innocently, I've just noticed that we spent some time with Figs at the end of the last session, and he dropped into some sadness, some primary. I'm kind of wanting to do that with you. That's where I'm coming from.
You want me to do ugly crying now?
No, not necessarily. It wasn't ugly.
I mean, that's what you're scared of, is it?
What?
If you started accessing your sadness or your deeper feelings, that you would ugly cry.
Yeah, that's okay. It's happened before. It'll happen again. We're pretty used to it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Whereas for me,
can I just find some ugly crying? No, I'm just kidding. No,
I was gonna say, like, one of the I don't cry that much, right? And one of the problems, if I do cry, Teal interrupts my tears because she's so excited. Like I always, she comes there along with a jar to collect them. But her being so excited about me crying stops me crying. I actually feel the anxiety of where we are this week. I don't feel very present. Not like I'm not present to this moment, but like I was saying, I feel this overriding feeling of I'm waiting for some future event. Like what's present right now is I'm in like a no man's land. I'm in kind of purgatory.
It's interesting you say that. I had about 3 or 4 clients say, look, I want to take a week off. I just want to get through this election thing.
Yeah, because what I kind of feel right now is like, yeah, there's this kind of overriding kind of tightness, anxiety, right? That it's not even like by choice that I'm not feeling like we're doing deep work right now. It's just kind of, I don't know. It's just not, it doesn't feel like it's just there.
Yeah, maybe we're not capable. I mean, that totally makes sense. And listen, I think what I'm feeling, I'm so excited to be just sitting next to you right now. And I feel like it's been a long week. And I'm so excited about what happened this morning with just our
getting up early.
And I feel like I'm just happy with how I contributed to making that happen for you. And and so I'm like
well, how about if we stick with that, the positive?
Yeah, like Figs does so much for me all the time. Like he's just like, he's a workhorse, and he just like we won't get into it, but in our move from California to Hawaii, our really nice bed got fucked up in the move, and like it's only affecting me. Speaking of sensitivities, this one's really legit.
Yeah,
they're all legit. Yeah. Is basically the whole interior of the bed is just like a disaster, and so the heaviest person in the bed is totally fine. But someone like me who's lighter, right? Like I would fall and roll into the bed.
Right.
So I was just telling Figs, like, my back is really messed up. And, he was like, it's hard to spend money. It's like we're kind of being screwed by our moving company, and it's hard to spend money, and just like, but he just like jumped on this. He's just like, for like 30 minutes, he was just like researching. He's like, I'm gonna get us a new bed. And I said, it's okay. I can sleep on this little bed on the side of the bed. It's not that big of a deal. And he's like, no, not okay to have a bed where you're not in the bed and comfortable. It just like, it felt so good to me.
Well, thank you.
Like, it's just so like welcome, and it's just like so in your nature to be like, you prioritize me. I'm like special to being in the bed with you. And
but let me stop you just for a second. This is all very nice.
Okay.
Right. But you were saying that you felt really good about yourself that you make this happen. And then you started complimenting me.
But no, well, I am glad I did some things to make this happen this morning. And I also just feel like you do things to make things happen. I'm just in touch with the there's just so many great parts right now.
There are.
So I'm kind of going with the love fest part, not the other part, which is, were you referring, Figs, to the way Teale puts the credit back on you or something?
Exactly.
Was that what I wasn't going to do that today.
Okay, you were just going to do the I hear, yeah. Well, but look, it is an interesting thing because I actually feel, and I know we're not going to process. It is something that I can actually get a little contracted or threatened in a moment like that because, you actually, like Teale was saying, look, I actually feel really good about myself. And then somewhere in that process, she started complimenting me. But I know it's really important for Teale to be seen and so the fact that I'm now the one being seen and validated, it feels kind of scary because I think it's actually
good point.
Because I actually think like it's really, she's giving me what she actually really, really needs herself.
I like that. How are you receiving that, Teale, what he's saying?
I think that makes sense. I mean, I think that, you're just receptive. It's just that, like, obviously I was really touched by that. And, I think it might be kind of the withdrawer part of me where I can be like, it's in line with some of the stuff we've talked about, like, do you see how much I do? And like,
Exactly.
A lot of this stuff, I mean, I feel like maybe my needs in the beginning of our relationship were like, oh, I really need you to see me when I clean the house and do this. And, Figs is doing so much, he just doesn't always see those things. And so it's not like a super like pulsing thing for me, but like, and maybe I didn't, I guess if I put myself in your position, I can get kind of like critical of like how you're not like, thank you so much for breakfast, or you woke me up gently, all the things.
Yeah.
But Teale, just the process that I've noticed over a few sessions, and it sort of happened today, and I think Figs was noticing it. I was trying to shift focus to you and your feelings and having you drop in, even though you guys aren't in the mood today, it's fine. But there's a process of kind of you bouncing it back out to Figs in some way. I wonder if that lands, if I've got that something there to look at.
Yeah. Maybe, I don't know. What do you think?
Right now.
I know I didn't. You guys don't get convinced of something, okay? Wow, this is the real gang up party. That's what's happening. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, I'm scared to answer that. Like, what am I gonna say? Like, yes. I mean, I think I'm. I don't even know. I don't know how to answer.
Well, look,
that.
here's I think you're actually very, very good at validating other people, which is amazing, right? You're really, really good at validating other people. And, you deserve that too. And I know you feel that inside. And so just something that can happen between you and I is when you validate me, the loudest thing I often feel is oh shit, I'm being validated because Teale really, really needs validation.
Yeah.
And so this is this is just my stuff,
Yeah,
right?
well, that's
As
partly
well.
your
No,
stuff.
exactly. Look, it's all mixed up. Like, I'm scared when you validate me, it doesn't, I'm not able to let it feel good. I actually feel oh shit, there must be something I'm supposed to do if I'm being validated.
Right.
Right. But look, anyway, look, it is an interesting thing, just that thing that happens between us where you compliment me and I'm more aware of what's expected of me than I am able to take in the compliment.
Right. And I guess there's, that makes sense. And there's, like you're saying, there's just several things going on. Like, because I know you like I do, I recognize that you have a lot of wounding around not being seen.
Mhm.
And so I do really see you.
Right.
And I really want to let you know. And
Thanks.
so there's
you're very
like
good at
that's a big
Yeah.
piece. But you're right that when I give it to you, it feels like a complicated, like I feel that suspiciousness.
Yeah.
And so I think maybe I do it less now, just kind of altruistically, and maybe as kind of a like, hey, by the way, I'm kicking ass. When really what I'm saying, like I'm always, I mean, not always, but often I'm in touch with how much you do and how
Right.
much you deserve appreciation. But I've just kind of like, for now, I've just kind of abandoned that ship. Like, he's not going to take it in. He doesn't really want to hear from me, get scared. I'm not giving up on you. It's just kind of on pause.
Right.
And I think you're right that maybe there's something kind of passive aggressive about it, that there's like, well, I'm doing great. And, have you noticed that?
Right.
As opposed to just maybe like, these.
Well, maybe, I guess I'm wondering, maybe sometimes it's that way and other times it's more organically pure, because there are layers to it. And the one layer you just named, Teale, is that it's important for Figs to feel seen, right?
Yeah, no, yeah.
Well, I missed something. What happened?
Really natural, organic validator of people. You're really good with like loving people and validating them.
And that's,
Yeah.
and
Not
Figs,
always
you do,
looking for something from them.
and you do take that in, Figs.
I do. It
You
means
eat
so
that
much.
up.
Listen, it means so much. I wouldn't like.
Yeah.
Again, I know the pain, as Teale was saying, of not being seen and not being seen as special or not like. It's just soul destroying, and like I feel Teale actually, does think I'm special, and it means a lot. It actually means.
Totally.
I mean, like anything I say would be understating how much that means and how healing it's been.
It's like a reparenting that wounded boy.
Yeah, and interestingly, like one of the interpretations, like Teale said, like that I actually don't have the same unresolved energy about being seen as I used to. In part because, now what I do for a living, I'm seen in lots of ways. And that you see me, right? Like I don't actually have the same hurt reactive energy mixed up with the vulnerability around being seen. Like I actually do feel seen. You know what I mean? I feel seen by you. I feel seen like professionally. I actually
you're
just
integrating
not that wounded around it.
You've integrated.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, so but look, you actually really have helped heal that part of me,
That makes me so happy.
Wow, cool.
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad.
Significant. Totally.
Yeah. And look, and to the point you were saying about, and I understand them, and I know we're gonna have to end. Me saying, look, your back is sore. We're going to get a bed. It doesn't matter how much the fucking costs. If your back is sore, you have to give a seat in the bed. I know that's a similar, and again, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that's a similar healing for you, right? The same way as like a big example is like, remember I wrote the email to your dad.
Oh my gosh. We need a whole session to just process how important some of this stuff is done for my life.
But look, I know that. I know that when I prioritize you in these ways and show up for you, that's immensely healing for you.
Yeah.
So
immensely.
Yeah.
So amazing.
Yeah. And a lot of that stuff is organic. Like you're saying, it's not like, oh, I'm doing this thing, so maybe you'll see me. Like
Right.
I just, that's why we're here together. I want to be there and love
Good.
and help repair the wounding that you have. And I really feel that you do that for me too. So I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Teal, I just want Figs and I to be able to hear you and support you and reflect to you without you feeling like we're ganging up on you.
Oh, I was just kidding about that.
I know you're kidding, but there's some kind of process that I'm not sure yet what it is, but I tend to find myself back with Figs, talking to Figs.
Yeah, well, I think, yeah, I think I'm just checking it all out and making sure,
Mhm.
it's safe out here. And,
Right.
like moments like Figs and I just had are like so amazing. And
Yeah.
I think life has just sort of, and it's not like, oh, we're a victim of our lives, but we've just done so much on the outside, and we haven't had as many moments like this, but they create a sense of safety for me. And
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think it's tough to kind of stay in the me and still feel like it's okay to do that. And but I think it's really important to kind of I think that it started to get really dark and overwhelming for me just a couple minutes ago, and I was like, anyway, I don't even know what was going on, but I really like that you brought it back to like we're both so healing for one another.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just, I think I can hide sometimes, and that's maybe what you're picking up, is that it is more comfortable for me in this moment, at this place in our relationship and in our therapy, for me to have like Figs like lead a little bit.
Mhm.
Is
Okay. I'm glad we could just name it. That's happening. Yeah.
Okay, sweet.
Great, sweet moment with you too.
Okay, so I hope that wasn't too painful to, again, be inside a couples counseling session with us. I always feel awkward and embarrassed when we come back after the listeners or viewers actually got to be inside our couples counseling. But so let me hear the things that really stood out for me now and watching that session again. The three main takeaways right now for me, and I'll just name the three of them and then we can just talk a little bit about them. The first one is, like we said at the very beginning, right? You and I, Teal, we actually collude with each other to not name that there's a negative cycle happening between us about the AirPods.
Yes.
Right. And so it's just good to notice, you don't have to process every cycle, but at least be aware you're not processing what's happening. Right? At least be aware of it. We were already in a negative cycle. I was disappointed in you. I wasn't saying anything, but again, your body is millions of years in the making. It freaking knows. Oh,
That's right. This body.
Exactly. Yeah. Boom. But yeah, so we were in a negative cycle and we chose not to talk about it. Right. But it meant that energy was with us the whole time.
Absolutely. It's really informative for me.
It's really good to see. So again, you don't have to process everything, but it's not much, but at least be aware and notice what you're not processing. And you can come back to it. Right. The second thing that I hope you take away is, and again, you're so good. When I say you're so good, I just appreciate you being willing to share yourself. I love that you said, look, I came into this episode really worried I was going to be too much again. And so I was committed to not being too much, right? And this thing about, what you resist persists. All of a sudden then in the session, all these different things came out, right? That you, my voice at one point, the headphones, the desk height, the blinds, and I'm not sure what else, right? There were all these ways in which the way in which you weren't feeling comfortable inside actually came out in other behaviors.
That's right.
So I love that's so great to feel, and you're so good for just being willing to be curious about yourself and see it. And that can start a negative cycle in the very ways you were hoping to avoid, right? Because then I feel like, what the heck? Like, I can't talk. You won't do the headphone. Like, you're like, you know, like I can get like, leave the bloody blinds alone, right? You know, like we can end up getting in you being seen in all the ways you were hoping to avoid being seen.
I know.
It sucks. Right.
Well, I think it's kind of magic.
Well, it's
I mean,
magic to be able to
sucks.
see it.
It's great to see it now. Wow. I just like, you know, it persisted. It persisted.
Exactly.
I was speaking with a lot of ways that, you know, not necessarily with my words and being articulate or explicit. It's my body was speaking that I was really uncomfortable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was all coming out even as you were trying to keep it in. I so good. And then it kicks off, you know, a negative cycle. Now, luckily, when I say luckily, you know, it's kind of a double-edged sword. We were committed to colluding with each other to not really get deeply into anything.
Right.
And then the last thing that I thought was really important that we touched upon, that I think is really good for our listeners and viewers to really take in, is that compliments, validation, appreciation, look, on the surface, it looks really simple. These are good things to say to other people, and they are. However, people can have a different internal working model of what it means to be acknowledged or appreciated. It could touch grief inside them. It could fill them with joy. You know, grief because I never got this, and getting it now brings me in touch with all the sad places inside me. Or like me sometimes, right? Mm-hmm. When you acknowledge me or appreciate me, I get scared. What's the hidden underlying subtext is I'm being told that this is what you need and I'm not doing it. So I actually, sometimes when you acknowledge me, it feels I'm actually getting contracted.
Yeah.
Which I imagine it's kind of hard for you to understand, like, wow, I said something nice about Figs and now his eyes are narrowing. He's like, oh, I see, Teale. I see.
Yeah. And, you know, we're not going to go into a piece around this right now, but I think it is important for us to explore at a later date, you know, is that it touches something that's scared inside for you and feeling your not enoughness and that I'm critical. And then you move away. And so there we go. We've got a weird negative cycle.
We get it. Yeah. Over something good. And again, I hope it's okay to say this. And it's not just my perception, right? There is a part, sometimes you really are just validating, appreciating. And other times you are actually going, hey, like, I'm actually the one that needs some appreciation right now.
Absolutely. I think you're right. And I'm kind of like, you know, trying to be present with this moment, also thinking like, I wonder if I could say, you know, what's happening? Kind of like, did you see me?
Exactly.
You know, did you see me? And how, and of course I don't want us to like, you know, find the solution, but just, it is empowering to recognize, oh, maybe it's also like, would it be okay, sweetie, if I asked, hey, could you see me too? And we do that actually successfully a lot, and that you're there. You're like, yes, great job on that. And it helps me, and we can avoid a cycle sometimes. But again, we don't want to avoid cycles.
Yeah, and cycles, again, just to make sure our listeners or viewers, that's a word we commonly use to describe when we get disconnected from each other, just in case, again, it doesn't, like, what are they talking about? Cycling, like they fight while they're riding their bikes. What do they mean? But
cycles.
But yeah, look, thank you again for being with us on this journey. It really is, you know, it's a huge undertaking. We've already lost 5 family members. We've been excommunicated talking about ourselves this way. I'm kidding. But yeah, thank you. And we'll catch you the next time. Anything you want to say, sweetie, before we end?
I just appreciate all of our listeners and, you know, feel so excited to do this project with you. I just kind of woke up this morning like, yes, ooh, another one. You
really made this happen this morning. Thank you.
Ooh.
Good job.
Ooh.
See, there's an appreciation.
There we go. I'm just gonna take it in, put it by my little heart.
Yeah. No, you really made this happen. Thank you. Which, as you know, like that touches something really big for me. Okay, I'm not responsible for making everything happen.
Yeah.
Good job.
We're in it together.
Love
you. Okay. Keep fighting the good fight, people.
Bye.
This was Come Here to Me,
Relationship experts walk the talk.
Visit comeheretomepodcast.com for episode transcripts, social media links, and to subscribe to the mailing list.
If you or someone you love are struggling in your relationship or just want to work on making things that little bit better, visit us at empathy.com. That's empathy with an I on the end, not a Y on the end. We've got quizzes, courses, videos, articles, and free consultations for couples counseling or for relationship coaching.